What up, folks? What's going on? Welcome to 101 Dalmatians, episode 101 of the Spun Today Podcast. I'm your host, Tony Ortiz. Thank you very much for listening. In this episode, I speak about the sad death of Anthony Bourdain, watching the movies Deadpool 2 and A Quiet Place, and also the third season of the Netflix original show, Black Mirror, which I didn't know was a Netflix original. I just noticed that the other day while watching season 3. I thought it was like a British show, like a show in the UK or something like that was picked up by Netflix. But it's a Netflix original that happens to have a lot of Ukrainians, a lot of British folk. All right, so this past week on June 8th, Anthony Bourdain committed suicide. He hung himself in his hotel room in France while he was on location filming for his hit CNN show called Parts Unknown, which is a show that I discovered on Netflix. I didn't watch it on CNN, but Netflix has, all the back catalog of it. I first heard of Anthony Bourdain on Rogan's podcast. He did Rogan's podcast a couple years back and seemed cool, seemed interesting. And then that's when I looked up his show. And for those of you that don't know, Anthony Bourdain was a chef, and he was known as the bad boy rock star lifestyle chef. And a lot of chefs are I used to work in restaurants when I was younger. My first real job was working at a restaurant. I worked at 2 different restaurants for about 4 years, from when I was 15 to 19 or 16 to 20, something like that. And I worked with a few different chefs over those years, and they do have kind of an edge to them, I guess, chefs, at least for the most part. There was one chef out of maybe 5 or 6 or maybe even 7 that I worked with over that time period that was a straight and narrow chef. But besides that, most of them drink heavily, alcoholic status drink, and if not, just like to drink a lot and party, but not necessarily alcoholic status. There was a few, at least two. Let me see, 3 that I remember that used to do coke, and they're, I don't know, and that's in little mom and pop shop type restaurants. And that career or that job or that whatever, that position kind of always had that fama of, chefs like to party, that's their shit. And Anthony Bourdain was supposed to the pinnacle of that. And I know that he, on Rogan's podcast, he spoke about when he was younger, and he spoke about this on different venues as well, but he spoke about being into heavily into coke and heroin when he was younger, and then kicking that habit. And he also drank, and he still drank even after, which was interesting, even after he kicked heroin and was sober and stopped doing coke. He still drank, which is interesting, because he supposedly wasn't an alcoholic status drinker, but he used to drink socially, which is weird because at least most stories that I hear from addicts and shit, they can't do anything, or they'll do everything, you know what I mean? And he was apparently measured in his drinking, and But he definitely did have like an addictive personality. Something else that he got into was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because I know his wife used to be into it, and she or his ex-wife, and she was even in like a bunch of like jiu-jitsu tournaments and stuff like that. And as a way to like bond with her, he got into doing jiu-jitsu and supposedly got like completely addicted to it. And whenever he was on location for his show, he would go to like any local jiu-jitsu school to like do jiu-jitsu. He won actually a tournament in New York, like a small, no, well, I don't know how small it is, to be honest, but it's a spring BJJ tournament he won the gold in the 56 and older division. It was the IBJJF, New York Spring International Open Championship. And for those of you that know about jiu-jitsu, or at least have like some like inkling of it, like there's a bunch of different tournaments in different schools and like stuff like that. It's just not like the Olympics or something, you know what I mean? But you know, it's definitely something notable. And his show, so he was this rock star chef that was also an author, and he wrote one book that I know of, probably wrote a couple others, and he actually like narrated his show. His show is about cooking, and it's, well, not like a traditional like cooking show. He went around the world. It's called Parts Unknown. At least the show that I got into. I know he had like another show before it, and I think maybe even a third show before that one. But the show that I got into, Parts Unknown, he went to parts unknown around the world. And, you know, he would go to like a bar in New Jersey that made the best chopped cheese sandwich, according to him. And he would go to Cuba and eat in a village with traditional Cuban food. And he would go to Turkey, and, you know, and so forth. Every time that I saw an episode of that show, like each episode, I think it's like 45 minutes to an hour. It felt so much longer to me, but like definitely in a good way. And to me, it was, each show is like a little mini vacation. Like you really get a sense of what the place is like that he's at, because it's not, you know, just like at the resort, you know, eating the fried fish that they cook at the beach, or like sipping margaritas poolside. It's like a bit more of an authentic experience that he tries to give out, or tries to show through his show, and it really came off that way. I think what did it for me was he was a really good writer and had a way with words, and he wrote on a lot of his show, and I want to say all of his show, but I don't know if that's correct, but he definitely wrote on the show and had final cut, which means everything and anything that you see, he signed off on. You know, like not the director, not the showrunner. He had final cut on his show, which is rare. He narrated it, which you guys know I'm a sucker for. Like I like movies with narration and voiceover and stuff like that. And his show has that as well. Netflix was, I think the show was scheduled to like come off from Netflix actually, like in like later this month, I think in June or July, but they actually tweeted today that they were going to extend it for many months to come, which is a smart move on their part. Like everybody and their mother's speaking about Anthony Bourdain now, so even people that didn't know about him before, you know, now that he committed suicide, are gonna want to like check out his show. It's fucking horrible, yo. And it goes to show that, you know, even like mental health is such a prevalent issue in the country and in the world. What am I talking about? The country, in the world, and I don't know, like more like in our face now more than ever, like with social media and the connectivity of people and how small the world has become because of the internet. We as a people definitely have to do a better job of taking preventative measures and trying to notice signs and being there for people that you feel like might have issues. And if you yourself have issues, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, which I linked to in the episode notes, actually. And their phone number is actually 800-273-8255 if anyone is in need of that. And there's actually a text version, which I looked up for those less inclined to actually make the phone call. It could be a text that fucking saves your life. And you get to, speak with a trained crisis counselor. And the number that you have to text is 741-741. And just one more time, the phone number is 800-273-8255. And I linked to it in the episode notes, as well as the text. The number to text is 741-741. And it's sad because, even someone seemingly like Anthony Bourdain, where he has like a dream job and on top of the world and doing something that he himself is passionate about and was doing since he was a teen, and working in kitchens and restaurants and cooking, and got to do it in this super cool, unique dream job way, and had money and had, everybody that encountered him liked him. Shit was still so fucked up in his head that he decided to, while on location shooting this show, hang himself in his hotel room, and leaving behind his ex-wife, which they were going through like a divorce or something like that, and it was never finalized, but I'm assuming based on that I guess they were estranged at least, or separated already. But he also left behind a daughter, which sucks. That has to be rough to like lose a parent that way, or a child, lose any family member or friend that way. But I can't even imagine like the amount of, it can't be sadness, like on your sad, like down, like days that you're just out of it and just like fed up with everything and anything, and everything just makes you like down, like feel down and like shitty. Like it must be that times a million, like severe depression, to feel as if the only way out, the only escape, the only way to feel a sense of relief from the shit that's going on in your own head is to just end everything, just fade to black, just everything go dark. Like to choose that over anything and everything and anyone else has to be like an insane level of just pain and anguish and confusion and just sadness. And it's fucking sad. But I'd say definitely check out his show, especially if you guys haven't, and I'm sure you get something from it. There's like gems in every episode. There's like takeaways. There's like a way that Anthony had of connecting to like the people or like the essence of the countries and places that he was in, and like extracting like all the goodness from it and like putting it on screen and sharing it with you, and had a way of tying it all together with his words, which is cool. It's a really good show, and I've seen a bunch of them. I definitely haven't seen all of them, and I'm definitely gonna hop on Netflix and catch the ones that I haven't seen yet. Again, if you or anyone that you know, anyone that you think might need it, call the fucking suicide prevention hotline. Text them. It could be a call or text that saves your or somebody else's life. You never know. And also, just stop being shitty to people, like for no reason. You know what I mean? Like whatever like negative energy, negative bullshit that we put on each other, and we were all guilty of it. Like, lessen that. Like, take that down a notch. It's very unnecessary. You never know what fucking straw that broke the camel's back could lead someone into doing some unreversible sick shit like that. Also, Kate Spade, the designer lady, that I know her from like purses and shit that my wife liked. She committed suicide the same way, also hung herself like a week before, or a couple days before, or something like that. And you know, something interesting about her that I didn't know, she was married to David Spade, the comedian, the comedic actor, and comedian. I think he did stand up. She was married to his brother, which I didn't know. Hence the last name Spade. All right. What a bummer. What a bummer way to start the episode, huh? On a lighter note, Deadpool 2, the movie, was hilarious. I highly recommend it. I actually thought it was funnier than the second one, but take that with a grain of salt because I don't fully remember the second one. I'm sorry, the first one. But I like the humor in the movie. I like the movie for reasons that other people didn't like it, or at least from like a couple reviews that I heard on it, which was the sarcastic humor. I have a pretty sarcastic sense of humor myself, but I also have like a dry, like serious type of demeanor. So like my sarcasm comes off as like dickish as well. And but I really enjoy like sarcastic jokes and like shit like that. And this movie is like full of them. And Deadpool, the character, he like constantly breaks the fourth wall and speaks to the audience, which I like as well. And it's narrated, which again I'm a sucker for. And it was just fucking funny. Even things like in the opening credits for it, like it said things like written by Who Gives a Shit and directed by Your Mother, you know, like weird like shit like that. And he had Celine Dion was singing like the song for it, and he's doing like some ballet interpretive dance of that song at the same time, and it was just funny. It was like, oh man, there was this Indian character in it, and he was a cab driver, and very cliche, right? And he was like Deadpool's like driver type thing, like getaway driver guy, and he was like a regular normal Indian dude, but he wanted to be a superhero, and he just had like a bunch of funny lines. And like throughout the whole thing, like he's telling Deadpool, I want to be a superhero like you, Mr. Deadpool, sir. And then in one scene, Deadpool he's like pissed off, he's like arguing something, and he's like, but let me you know, join or whatever the fuck, let me be in it, I'll have your back, or whatever the Indian guy's saying. And Deadpool's like, yeah, and what the hell's your superpower gonna be, huh? And the Indian guy, without skipping a beat, just responds, courage. And that shit was hilarious. I was dying. He has like a heavy Indian accent, and he's like, courage is my superpower. And then Deadpool calls him his Brown Panther instead of Black Panther. That was fucking funny. What else? The ending, the ending credits. Like Cardi B even made the ending credits, like because he had like funny little signs at the end, like when the credits were rolling, and the real director and writers, and which Ryan Reynolds, which is the star of it, he is Deadpool. He was actually one of the 3 writers on Deadpool 2, which I thought was pretty cool. But like in one of the signs that they had like little like stickies and just like little writing on the side and stuff like that That was funny. Like one of them was making money moves, like the Cardi B lyric, which is pretty cool. What else? Oh yeah, the ending, that the mid-credit and after-credit like scenes. We didn't get to stay for the after-credit ones. I don't even know if there was an after-credit one, but the mid-credit scene was like the best that I've seen in any Marvel movie. And it was really cool. It was funny. What else? And I almost didn't see the movie because it like happened by chance, because my wife and I were in the city and we had an appointment with her doctor for like the baby appointments for like a sonogram. And like now when you're getting close to the end of the third trimester, your appointments, instead of being monthly, they start off like as monthly, and then they go like bi-weekly, and then towards the end it's weekly. So we have an appointment tomorrow, we had one last Wednesday, we had one the Wednesday before, and then this one it's like you have an appointment for a sonogram where you get to like hear the baby's heartbeat and see like the baby on screen and shit like that, which is the coolest part. And they, take pictures and print them out for you. Most of them come out like shit, like you can't make anything out, but we actually got a really good one that was in 3D last time, which is pretty cool. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so then you have the sonogram appointment, and then you have a second appointment to review things like with the doctor, which the review things with the doctor is like, they pretty much look at the sonogram stuff before you go in with the doctor, and the doctor sees you for 5 minutes, he checks your pressure, they take your urine, asks you questions, how you're feeling, stuff like that, blah blah blah. Have you been nauseous? Have you been this? Have you been that? And that's pretty much it. But it's like 2 separate appointments, and we had the sonogram one at, I forgot what time, like let's say 11 a.m. And then the doctor appointment was like 4 hours later or some shit like that. And there was an AMC movie theater, which is the movie theaters that we like to go to. Like whenever we go to the movies, we go to an AMC out in Queens in Fresh Meadows. And because it has like the recliner, like lazy boy chairs, which is dope to see a movie that way. And there was an AMC literally like 2 blocks away, and I looked up like the show times on it, and just to see if there were like any worthwhile movies playing at the at that time, like in between. And there was one starting like in like half hour from when we were done with the first appointment, so we went to go see that. Deadpool 2 during that time, then went to the second appointment and bounced. So it was a pretty convenient showing and a pretty cool day. Next up is the movie A Quiet Place. A Quiet Place was very noisy and talkative, and let me stop. A Quiet Place was good. It was okay good. Like I didn't love it, I didn't hate it. I thought it was kind of predictable in a lot of parts, and the only thing I didn't predict, which I also didn't like, but I kind of like the fact that I didn't predict it, was the spoiler alert, by the way. Spoiler alert. Fast forward. Was the fact that the father dies. Like I didn't think that was gonna happen. I thought like in that scene, I thought like the girl was gonna realize that it's her fucking hearing aid that makes the the fucking animals that are killing people like die or go away or whatever. I thought she was gonna realize that like in that exact moment and then like save her dad. But that didn't happen, and her dad got fucking eaten. And then she figured it out later. But it was cool. It was definitely not like, I'm glad I did not see it at a theater. But it was worth a watch, if you have like a movie night or something like that and you have nothing else to watch. Like I wouldn't say don't watch it. But I'm also not giving it like a 2 thumbs up, go watch it right away type of recommendation either. Those weird like animal creature things that were killing people were my wife pointed it out, which is true. They look like the I forgot what it was called, but the shit from Stranger Things, like that alien thing that was killing people, like one of those from the Upside Down place fucking monsters. It looked like one of them shits. And I'm trying to think of like something else that was like memorable about it. But not much comes to mind. Oh, her having the baby, and being quiet while having the baby. Obviously very unrealistic, but it's a fucking movie, you know? You're supposed to suspend disbelief, but it was a crazy scene. She's like hiding from this monster that's like tracking her, and these monsters, if you guys haven't seen the movie, they can't see, they don't have eyes or whatever, but they sense you through hearing. Like if you make a noise, like any like tap, anything, they eat you. They find you and eat you. And she was pregnant, which, by the way, what are you doing fucking and getting pregnant when you can't make noise? You know what I mean? Like that's like, come on, use a rubber or pull out or something. But like that can't happen in that scenario. Anyway, this like monster thing is like tracking her and is like inside the house. It's trying to like listen for her to like eat her, and she is like tiptoeing and like moving away while her water broke, and she's going through labor and winds up having a baby in the tub without making noise, without making enough noise for the monster to find her and eat her. And then she like hides in the closet, and that supposedly muffles the sound of the baby crying and like stuff like that. But it was a sick scene. Again, very unrealistic, even within like the context of, you know, the movie or whatever. It was still a bit far-fetched, but it was definitely a memorable scene to be like, oh shit, she's actually gonna pull it off. But alright, enough about A Quiet Place. Check it out if you guys feel like you want to. And if not, I won't blame you. And last up, Black Mirror, which is a show on Netflix, which is really cool. I've told you guys about it before, like previous episodes and previous seasons. Season 3 is now out, and it's only 6 episodes. So check it out. Each episode is really good. I enjoyed all of them. The last one definitely takes the cake because each episode, like, it doesn't build on each other. It's like its own like little mini movie. You know, they're all like an hour long, so it's like their own, you know, little movies. You know, how long is a movie? Like fucking an hour and a half, 2 hours. You know, these episodes are like about an hour. Some a little bit more, some a little bit less. Like the last episode is like an hour 15. But they're all like, you know, different actors each episode, and they're individuals. But they're like standalone. But the last episode kind of ties in like each of the other episodes into one, which was really cool, and I did not see coming, and it was a really good episode. So a lot of it is like technology based type of things, and kind of like a dystopian future types of settings where shit goes wrong because of a certain type of technology that's like very prevalent. And I think that it's called Black Mirror because it's kind of like a social commentary on society itself, like now, and it's kind of like look at yourselves in the mirror and how you're like, you know, addicted to your phones, and by you I mean we are addicted to our phones, and computers and just our own insular worlds, while at the same time and ironically being that much more connected to each other by doing so. Because like we were saying in the beginning of the episode, the world is like such a smaller place, not because of the advent of the internet and stuff like that, and social media, etc., etc., etc. So I think it's called Black Mirror because it's kind of like a black, dark, dystopian view of what the future could be if we continue on this path. And there is like one episode, for example, of these bees that sometime in the future, you know how they say like bees are like dying off, and it would throw off like the balance of agriculture if, you know, bees became extinct or became dangerously low in population because it would stop pollinating plants and flowers, etc., and crops would diminish and stuff like that. So in this future, in one of these episodes, they made these like flying robot bees that they're robot bees that do everything that bees did, but they're robots. And that's to supplement for their population. But then these little bees became devices where the government could use them for surveillance, and also it became the source of like somebody like hacked into the ability to like control a subset of these bees, of these hives, of these populations of bees, and they linked it to social media in a way and started like this hashtag game where you know some douchebag person who's popular or something like that, like let's say and had like a bad week or said some fucked up shit, like let's say Roseanne, that's in the news now, like somebody would use the hashtag death to Roseanne, or Kanye when he spoke about his fucking slavery as a choice type of thing, and had that TMZ outburst or whatever. Like somebody could say hashtag death to Kanye, and every week there was like a countdown, and whoever had the most like retweets or whatever on that hashtag, or whoever, whether it be death to Kanye or death to Roseanne or whatever, whoever had the most would have the bees like would target that person. And they're like little bees, they fit anywhere, and there's hundreds of thousands or millions of them, and this person like hacked them to like go into find the person, locate the person, and kill them basically. So it's like these literally killer bees, and they would like go into the person's like nose or ears or eyes or whatever, and just go in their brain and like stab them and kill them. So that was like one episode. And another episode was the ability to like download your consciousness into like someone else's body. So there was like a husband and wife, and the wife got into a really bad car accident, and she was like a vegetable pretty much, and through some like primitive, at that time it takes place like a bit in the future, not too far off into the future, but a bit into the future, there was some sort of like primitive device where the person could respond using like a green light and a red light, but they couldn't like speak, they couldn't move, they couldn't open their eyes, they couldn't anything, but they link this up to them, and they kind of speak through like yes and no with a green light and a red light. Think the like the scientist, quadriplegic guy, Stephen Hawking, who was like he couldn't move, but he could communicate through like his eyes, like moving on the screen and typing out what he wanted to say, like that, sort of kind of something like that. But anyway, so in this episode, that person was approached by someone and given the option of downloading their consciousness completely and embedding it into their spouse. So, they played with the theory, which is supposedly a bullshit theory, but that we only use 40% of our brains on a good day. And there's like this 60% of our brain where that's dormant. And you can technically download the consciousness of that other person into that, 60% space that's not being used. And, that person, you can hear them in your head and, have conversations with them, and then they could feel whatever you feel and see whatever you see and hear whatever you, like they could quote unquote live again. And that's another episode that takes a weird turn as well, a weird dark turn. And what else? There's like an episode about a doctor that gets like this implant to, feel the pain of his patients in a way. He gets like this neural implant where he can read the pain of patients to like better diagnose them and like no, it's not this artery, it's that artery that's causing the pain, because like he feels exactly what they feel and he's able to like pinpoint shit. And that takes a really dark turn, because then he starts like getting off on the pain, and then he starts hurting himself and other people and shit like that. It's a very interesting show. It's dark. I like it, and I think you will too. It's well written. It's very good acting, and it's different. It's not like any other shows that I watch or that I've seen before, and I think it's pretty cool. It's called Black Mirror, and it is available on Netflix for your viewing pleasure. All right, folks, that's it. That's enough for me this week. Stick around, listen to some tunes in the background while you listen to ways that you can help support the Spun Today podcast. This was episode 101. Again, my name is Tony Ortiz, and this is the Spun Today podcast. Thank you very much for listening.